I really like to give people like an opportunity if they're not known. I sway more towards working with the unknowns than the established. But I think that decon selection this year, I could just be making this all up. But I think we've got to.
Hey Toy Family, welcome to another edition of the Marsham Toy Hour, where we discuss anything and everything designer toys. I'm Theresa Hawkins.
I'm Gary Ham.
And Gary, I'm leading the charge today.
I like it. I like being in the passenger seat. This is fun.
Oh, it's weird for me, but today's kind of weird in general. George couldn't join, but it's because we're a little outside of our normal routine and doing a weekend record. Mm-hmm. So. Yep. But I know you were also feeling kind of crappy this morning, so I'm glad you're feeling up to joining me. And
I feel a little bit better. All week long the kids have been coughing in my food and my face, so I think I finally caught what they've had, so I'm coming down with a cold. But you've done all the prep work. You're more than prepared, so I'm passing the baton to you.
Cool. Okay. Well, jump in and join me, though, as we go. So. But yeah, as I said, we're recording on the weekend. It's a Sunday for us, but we're doing it for good reason because, as you mentioned, we have an awesome guest joining us. So let's get right to it. With us today is Dan Willett of Unbox Industries. Unbox is the production company known for helping bring numerous toys to life in our scene, and they're actually the winner of the 2018 Designer Toy Award for Brand of the Year.
Nice.
Very happy for them, and we've been wanting to get Dan on for a really long time now, so I'm very excited to have him join us. So welcome, Dan.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me and being so patient.
Hey, you're a busy guy. We understand. So we've been trying to make this happen for the past couple of years, actually. So finally, it's going to happen. So looking forward to talking with you.
Yeah,
that's great. Like I say, I do listen from time to time, and I must admit I'm a little bit intimidated after last week's podcast with Corey and Science Patrol because it was absolutely amazing. So I don't know. I've got high standards to live up to, I think.
It was fun, but we're going to hear awesome stuff from you too, I'm sure. So.
Thank you.
And if you don't know Dan, I mean, people love Unbox. So before certain recordings, we'll go out to our stomping ground on Facebook, and a lot of times we'll ask listeners, hey, do you have any questions, things you want to ask, let us know, and we'll get them included on our list of stuff. And instead of getting questions, I was getting stuff like, hey, tell Unbox they're killing it. They're my favorite production company, probably number one.
Wow. Oh, that's really great and very humbling to hear. Like I say, we just, how can I put it? I think it's the customers that kind of make us and guide us in what we do. And yeah, we really appreciate it. And we're just kind of overwhelming over the last, especially the last couple of years, that the amount of people to get in touch with like positivity and criticism and like guidance and recommendations. It helps us build on the foundation we've laid. So yeah, we're very grateful.
Yeah, and so I definitely want to get into more about how Unbox came to be and stuff, but I'm a little curious first. What is your role specifically at Unbox, Dan?
Wow, my goodness, where to begin? Myself and the guys that are Unbox, we're pretty much getting where we fit in type of thing. So, I mean, it was originally me that had the concept and started the company, but I do like license acquisition, and I'm also like on the front end for like customer services. I'll man Instagram. If I'm in Hong Kong from time to time, I'll get on the assembly line, check product, do some QC, clean the toilets, make the tea, whatever needs to be done. But everyone that works with them in Unbox, we've got the same kind of mentality. We're a very, very small company. I mean, up until I think around about 2015 there was only 3 of us, and now in 2018 we've got a team of around, I think it's just under 20, about 19.
Wow.
In all. So compared to like the other toy companies out there, I think we're pretty small. So it is a case of like we all muck in and do the best we can.
Now, is it true that you guys didn't plan on starting out to be a toy company? Initially, weren't you guys originally just supposed to be like a prototyping and development company for somebody else at the time?
Absolutely right. It's a bit of a long story. Do you want to? I can give you like a
cliff note.
Okay, all right, okay. I'll try my hardest. So, originally started, I guess. I mean, I've always been into like comic books, popular culture, role-playing games, spaghetti westerns, horror movies. You name it. Like from a kid onwards. And when I was very young, about 17 years old, I started a comic book shop with the aid of my parents and some good people around me. From that, basically sold that company, not for any real financial gain, and then moved to London to be my future wife and started working for a company called Forbidden Planet. Then from Forbidden Planet, I went to Play Lounge, and this is where the art starts to take a turn towards like the art toys and everything else. So I was with Play Lounge for a couple of years, and that's kind of laid the foundation of meeting all of the artists from past, present, and future, and just seeing like how the business was working, like working under a guy called Aidan who created Play Lounge. So I was with him for a few years, and then moved from Play Lounge to another company called Cards Inc., who were part of eventually part of another company called Master Replicas. And within that world, I kind of took the experience and the knowledge and the contacts I had at Play Lounge, and was working with them just as an account manager. And this is where it gets really crazy. One day, just chatting to the boss, and we were just discussing licenses and toys, and they were moving more. They were doing like licensed product and manufacturing, and they were deciding to move into toy. We just kind of come to the conclusion that video game licenses were probably something that were kind of like not really tapped into at that time. So I guess this was around about early 2000s. So this may have been about 2004, 2005. Anyway, my boss at the time went to Nintendo and managed to acquire the master toy license for Super Mario Brothers and Legend of Zelda from Nintendo. At that point, Nintendo had no licensing. They were a very, very small licensing team. And the way the licensing process would work with Nintendo at the time was you would come up with a concept, you'd send it to Nintendo of America. Nintendo of America would send it to Nintendo Japan. Nintendo Japan, if you wanted to make like a Mario figure or a Yoshi figure, they would pull in the creative team that worked on that particular iteration of Mario. So the whole approvals procedure was incredibly slow, and it was taking literally months at some point to get a response. Mm-hmm. So whilst this was kind of bubbling along, and of course, when you sign a license, use those licenses or contracts for a license, they're about a 2-year period. So the guys I was working for, they were getting really, really anxious to get product out. So then they said, look, let's try and source product from other places. So again, being a geek and having a knowledge of what was out there and what was bubbling before, I was kind of aware of a band Presto making their vinyl figures, but for amusement. And I'd also was aware of a guy in Australia that had minifigures, had a license for minifigures from Mario Brothers as well at the same time. So I started working with both those parties, like building up a rapport with them. You're still with me?
We're with you. Hanging in there.
All right, okay. It's a crazy story. Right, so from there, the Master Replicas, for some reason, almost overnight went into administration, and like that was it. It was done. Company was dead. Wow. But the guy in Australia who had the minifigure license, he kind of reached out to me and he said, "Look, I could use you. Can you help me? Basically help me with a line plan and help me come and see Nintendo, and I'm going to try and get the Master Toy license." So he flew me out to Hong Kong. We met there, and I started working with him. And actually, in between that, I'll rewind a little bit. Whilst this was going on, whilst I was at Cards Inc., I did put out a toy, like an art toy, with a friend of mine called Jasper Stank was the name of the figure, under a company Dan and Dan, and like found out like the hard way, like the ramifications of trying to make a vinyl figure or an art toy. Just saved up enough money to do that. And this was working with Triceratops. I'm sorry, I'm getting everything kind of like backwards now as my memory banks kick in. Basically had a go at trying to make my own designer toy, and it was really quite a frightening like process of sending money out to someone you're never going to meet and like interacting on email, and the figure came through, and it was a relief, and it was relatively okay, and I learned a massive amount on process over there. So anyway, I apologize. I've now jumped back forward. So I've made this art toy or designer toy at this point. Then got the invitation to go to Hong Kong and started working with this guy on minifigures. And he introduced me to his project manager, who was a guy from Hong Kong, born and raised, like a lot older than me. And essentially was kind of like mentored by him. The guy from Australia, I'd go out and meet him. And we managed to help him acquire the master toy license for Nintendo, and he made a ton of money. And I was never given a salary, but he gave me basically gave me the rights to distribute his Nintendo product and the stuff I sourced from Band Presto into Europe.
Nice.
And so based off that as well, I managed to get a small license for stationery and luggage and all these things, and had no manufacturing experience. So that was a miracle getting that license, and set up a distribution network with the guys that I used to work with. So again, with absolutely no money, just reached out to people, and they set up their own distribution network in Europe, because I knew that to move volume, I needed help. Then another friend of mine, she very kindly lent me enough money to buy one container of minifigures, and we started shipping that in. And now, so with that cash flow, I started flying back and forth from Hong Kong to see this Australian guy, but also to hang out with Daniel. And when you meet people in the toy industry, or the people I've met, I'm generalizing, but it's more about the money. And I was kind of like definitely like the freak that was out there, because I was really into the product and the process and the creativity. And they go to the factory, break bread, make a deal, get the best price they can, and then they go party, drinking, or whatever else, which I've never really been into. So for me, it was more a case of like, I'd hang out with the factory guys, and then I'd go out with Daniel when these guys, the Australian guys, weren't around, and go and see manufacturing, go to the tooling studios, or go and see like the wax model guys, or prototype houses. And Daniel he'd been in the game for like a long time. Like I think like one of the first guys in Hong Kong. He originally started in die cast, and then he was working like in plastics. He would kind of like impart the knowledge of like the manufacturing, the history of toy manufacturing in Hong Kong, then when it moved into China, and he knew loads of people. So I'd be like this European guy that would just roll into the factories with him, basically him like just shooting a breeze with old mates and just looking at projects. And there's always this culture of like helping one another out. I mean, there's an edge of competition, but people work together out there to get a job done.
Yep.
And I can't understand, and I still can't understand Chinese, but I would just sit and just listen and watch and get the measure of what's going on, and kind of get an idea of what's been discussed. And then Daniel would kind of say to me, right, this and this was discussed today, and you've seen this, and this is this process, and you need to use this factory for this type of thing, or learn about factory compliance and all the processes. And I kind of like ingrain myself in the culture out there. So yeah. But still in my heart and in my mind, I was like, yeah, this is all good. And I really appreciate this opportunity to see this in the process, but I would love to start, doing something else.
Yeah.
And start getting licenses and start a company doing, as you said, like prototyping, a little bit of manufacturing. And then it's self-serving, that can help me produce my own product and sell that product under license. And then just still working with Daniel, had these conversations with him where, just discuss like, well, I want to do like these, like there's this culture of designer toys. And he wasn't aware of like Toy to R or Medicom or those type of things. He was working like Mattel and, okay. the really big.
Yeah.
You got it. That's it. So he wasn't privy to this whole culture that had gone and kind of passed through like Hong Kong. And I said to him, I would love, this opportunity to find a factory that could make, maybe like 5,000 or 3,000. And he's like, why would anyone want to do that? What's the point? You want to make like 1 million units a month. You make your margins, aim high, don't do this small run stuff. And I was like, well, it's not so much about, the volume and the money for me. I'd really love to make some really great stuff and, enjoy that creative process. And he's just like, yeah, you're mad, whatever.
Off to the loony bin.
And then one day we had this meeting at a factory, and this guy rolled in, and he was like from a prototype shop and like an engineer, like a production background.
Okay.
We started talking, and I was like, yeah, I just really love toys. I like this and that, and just going through the motions, and then talking about Medicom. And this guy's like, yeah, I really like the Medicom stuff as well. I'm like, oh, so you know about this type of stuff? And he said, yeah, I'm kind of familiar. And he says, I'm a huge Ultraman collector. I keep it all under my bed at home. It drives my wife crazy. So I've got like all this soft vinyl stuff and Chigokins and like incredible collection that fit under a bed. And this turned out to be, my future business partner, Leo, who from that chance meeting and then meeting again and again, was like, let's give this a shot. Let's just start something. I'd also, I forgot to add, whilst I was going to Hong Kong, so I do like 2 weeks in Hong Kong, and then I do like a few days in Japan. So I was flying back and forth over there and having meetings with like Nintendo and the likes of Capcom and Level 5 and all these companies, and also Maya Denki, CubeWorks, Sega Toys, Tomy, Bandai.
Damn.
So I had this astonishing insight into like procedures and protocols and the way these people operate. So it was a fantastic incubator for me to learn and see that side of things. And whilst this was going on, we were manufacturing products for people, and started to get some big jobs in, and moving some volume for mass market stuff.
Yeah. You weren't kidding. This is a long story. This is the Cliff Notes version.
It's a long journey to get to the end. So basically, so Leo and I just, we thought, let's give this a shot. And he introduced me to a friend of his, Chris. And originally started Unbox with this guy, Chris, who he had a small factory and doing prototyping. And he started basically, he could see that there was potential in doing the toys, and I wanted to make the toys. And he kind of started working towards that. But then he started making like large figure fabrications. And then Leo and I teamed up, and we started looking for factories. He was very aware of and like in awe of like the process for soft vinyl in Japan.
Yeah.
And so we had everything else on a plate in China. So, they had rotor casting, and we had injection mold stuff, and we had CNC milling, and we could do stuff in wood and ceramics, and virtually, the world's your oyster. Every process is there. And Leo's background being prototyping production, he knew pretty much anyone that we wanted to use to facilitate using those materials. But what was missing was that kind of like soft vinyl technique.
Yeah.
Or we thought, we didn't know anyone that was really doing it. So we knew what materials were being used, because again, having that background in like mass production, we were kind of friendly with like plastics brokers and material suppliers already. So it was for us it was very easy to source the right materials right from the get-go. But then it's actually finding the people that would again do the short run production stuff,
right,
and also do it well. And so we spent some time just kind of shopping around, trying to find the right partners. And you'd find one guy, and he was kind of good for it for a little while, and then get he's like, I'm going to put your job to one side because I've got this order for like 30,000 Peppa Pig figures or 50,000 of this. So I'm not going to pull these for you anymore. Or, you get kind of bumped around. And then sometimes the quality wasn't as good. And I think it was just at this point, or Leo employed a young lady called Tracy in China to help us out. And she was from like an engineering production background. So she had a very keen eye for product development and like high standards.
Okay.
And she came on board and started to help us like try and find like better partners for the process. And it took some time. And so at this point, I'm still running like this toy distribution strategy with these guys in Europe. So manufacturing products, buying products in and shipping out, and trying to get Unbox off the ground. And finally, Tracy found this guy who was basically working for Bandai. And this is some strange synergy with Corey from last week. And he was pulling the Ultraman figures for Bandai, using the traditional methods. And we met him and hit it off. And he was understood our aspirations and what we required. And so that was like the real turning point for us. And again, just kind of melded. It was like the final part of the jigsaw. So then we're privy to like all processes required, because I mean we didn't want to be limited by the process, because when you pull stuff on, there are limitations into the form and the way you pull it and everything else. We wanted to include if we wanted to. We wanted to go and see the injection mold guy and made some parts. Say if you want to make accessories, or if you want to make extra details or thin parts or like articulation, we wanted that option. Or if we wanted to make like some resin parts, then we could do that. If we wanted to mill some stuff in wood and add it to the figure. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to have all the options laid out. And that's kind of what we've got now, but it's taken, 15 years, 15 years to get there.
Basically, what you're saying is you started a new factory essentially, but with an all-star team lineup. Like they know every process of manufacturing that you would hope to work in one day.
That's right. I mean, like I say, up until I've had to write down dates. So I've been harassing like all the guys. They're like, when did you start and what did we do? And it's all a blur. I blame that jet lag for like 3 years. I think we opened our own facility in partnership with a prototype, an amazing prototype workshop towards the tail end of last year. So we've had like partnerships with people and like some smaller operations, but we also got the talent, like the guys that can pull the stuff. And the way we got them is basically say, look, we'll pay you more, come and work for us.
Nice.
And that's what we did. And the same with, we've got a fantastic paint team, which is the same thing where from working with other partners over the years, people are just, they like our vision and our attention to detail and the care we have for the product. So it's not always about the dollar even over there. And they've come on side. So we've got a paint team of about 8 people now. And they've got like QC guys and an engineer and Tracy. She's the heart. I mean, she's the one that pulled everyone together and runs the day-to-day for us in China. And then Leo kind of oversees it from there. And like we've slowly padded out the office in Hong Kong as well. But
when you say offices in Hong Kong, do you have offices in both Japan and Hong Kong?
We have Josh, who's in Japan at the moment. So he's Unbox Japan. Again, that's another fantastic asset. And bizarrely, Josh used to work with me when we was at Play Lounge. And I said to him, look, Unbox is kind of coming together. We do have a lot of Japanese customers, small and large. Mm-hmm. There's enough there financially to look after him. And when I was at that point, I was confident enough that things were running well. Then, we spoke and we started Unbox Japan. And now he's there like in the thick of it. He attends the shows, breaks bread at licensing meetings, like secured like licenses with the likes. Well, thanks to another chap called Katsuya, who does the vampire figure Varel, who's been incredibly helpful. Okay. He's out there doing what he's doing, and he's the point man for various projects. There's a lot of stuff we make that we don't share who we work for. We're kind of under NDA, and that's cool. Okay. As I say, small and large.
Okay, so Unbox still produces a lot of stuff for other people that you guys are under non-disclosure agreements for. So what's the balance there? Like, how much of the stuff is the independent, smaller stuff that we're familiar with versus the really large mass quantity stuff that you're doing for other companies?
We used to do a lot more. Again, it was always, there was at a point, I don't know how many years back, where, as you probably know as well, this market was very, very shallow and very niche. And it was kind of hard to generate a good revenue or a revenue for everyone to sustain or to run an office, and that's why we kept things so small for so long. So as I say, like Leo, Tracy, and myself. But as we were doing that, we were doing a lot of OEM, so manufacturing for larger companies. So, and as the scales have kind of tipped the other way, as like the small run, like toys, like vinyl toys, soft vinyl, as that business interest has kind of escalated, we've had that great opportunity to scale back the larger mass market productions we used to do, and to the point now where we've just kept one client just because they're fantastic to work with. So we're manufacturing for them, and they have licenses with Microsoft and Blizzard. So we do. It runs of stuff that's like, 50,000, 60,000. But again, thanks to working with Daniel in Hong Kong, I have the contacts, the factories. I understand what's required for audit requirements, like compliance. So your end product, can be sold in Walmart or Target, or Disney will allow you to manufacture there. So I have that skill set that I can go out and I work on a project of that nature and put it in the right place. It's been a great journey to this point. And as I say, now I think since this explosion in Asia products, and now this gradual resurgence in North America as well, I think, and still Europe still a little bit, but it's always been a bit more fickle over there. But we're in a good position, and we're evolving. We've got other plans, as I say, with the addition of Josh helping us out in Japan, and Tu, who does Elfie. Like he's another incredible asset, like such a good guy to have on our side. He's been super helpful as well in Thailand, and we have people in Singapore that help out. We're very, very lucky.
Yeah, it sounds like you're fortunate to be, because like you said, Asia, production and just toys in Asia has just really had a resurgence and explosion in the last 5 years. Stateside, I think we're definitely improving too, and things are getting better. But I think with you developing this team of really strong, knowledgeable, talented craftsmen, of crafters, that the quality of the toys that you're producing from Unbox is, I think you've just helped raise the quality and craftsmanship of toys in Chinese production in general. And I think that comes from your just overseeing production for so long, and also being knowledgeable in Japanese production and all that sort of stuff, that a lot of people would probably say that yourself and Instinct Toy and maybe Gums Productions and a couple other companies, like you guys have all helped elevate just the quality and production of toys coming out of China.
Thank you. That's very, very kind to say. I think our mindset and our strategy, for us, we don't want to be the biggest. We don't want the largest turnover, but we just want to make sure our output is diverse and creative, and try to keep that standard, or a high standard. I mean, there's been like loads of projects we've mismanaged, and I reflect upon how we've worked and developed stuff for other people, and we could have worked better with people and communicated better, and got products to them faster, and it's been a huge learning curve to get there. And there's loads of things I would have changed to get to this point, but I'm grateful that I had the support of friends, family, artists, and clients as well. Yeah, it's been quite a trip, like I say, to say the least.
Yeah, well, and I think even what you mentioned to me, Dan, about while you were working to build up the company and pull in different people with different expertise, you were also really trying to keep your options open. I mean, I think it's interesting to hear from you that you liked a lot of what the capabilities were in China, minus the soft vinyl type of piece, so that you kind of pulled that in so you really could do anything and everything. And I think that's really cool. And also talking about variety too. So, one of the things that when I think about Unboxed is, for me, obviously I'm a collector of cute. So when I think Unboxed, I think Elfies and Zeki's Dinos and Radokim's Bread Cats. But I think you all definitely cover a variety of toy styles. I mean, it seems like you make something for everyone. Is that important for you all, to, instead of having a focus or a niche, that you really want to be open to making anything and everything?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge Medicom fan, and they were always the template for us to, aspire to. I just love toys in general, and have collected for years and bought and sold. My collection's been boom and bust, for so many periods. But for me, it always comes back to Medicom, and just seeing that crazy diversity they had. And I just like the fact that, hopefully we're unpredictable. You can never kind of second guess what is coming from us next. And I think it's also there's a lot of our own personal appreciation. So from my side, I'm very much like the John Ken Morrison fan, and Skinner, and all those kind of weird monsters, or doing stuff, all those kind of just weird bits and pieces, and the retro bands and Zectron and those guys. So that's my passion. And then from Leo's side, even though he loves Ultraman and monsters and all those type of things, he's got that eye. He's got that eye for the cute and the endearing and appealing, and so there's that kind of synergy between us both. And then when Jim joined us, Jim Dreams, who does the Chunk figure, so Jim joined us in 2015 and kind of diligently worked away and put up with me and Leo and the madness that is Unbox. And then I think just had a conversation one day with Leo. He's like, I'd like to have a crack at just designing my own toy. And we said, well, why not? What have we got to lose? There's, it's only cash. Let's give it a shot. And so, he came up, he said, I'm going to do this character Chunk. And I looked at it, I was like, okay, what's this all about? I don't really understand it. I don't think this, the sculpt is kind of cool and it's just different, but it was completely over my head. And Leo was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's give it a shot. And it was released and it really, really well received. And I think, speaking to, I just never forget having a discussion with Ben from ToyCon UK. And he's like, what's that figure all about? I don't understand. What is it? Why are you releasing this? And we're like, well, Jim wanted to release it. I don't know. I don't really understand myself, but Jim wanted to release it. So we released it. And every version that comes out, every colorway that's released, it sells really well. And now he has a following and he's doing signings at the stores and going to the shows. Fortunately, he's still clocking in for work. He hasn't got above his station yet. So he's still with us, but, he's on that superstar lifestyle, then that's kind of what it's all about. If I really like to give people an opportunity if they're not known. I sway more towards working with the unknowns than the established. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of the established have contacts, which again is very humbling, but I kind of like to use people that they're either on the periphery or they're making stuff at home, or they just got a sketch they've sent in, and it's just, and we'll take that risk.
Oh man, you're gonna start getting so many emails now. You just subscribed 90% of the designer toy scene.
Yeah.
I love to see them all, and I will answer them all. But at the moment, we've got our schedule is pretty much booked. We can drop stuff in, but we've got about a 3-year schedule booked in. It's crazy, and there's some other major developments and things come up, and we just take it on. But I've learned to now. I've had to say no, because again, I'd love to, but it's unfair on you if I take this and sit on this, and I'm still trying to work through this list, but I'm not trying to add to the list,
So Dan, is that how it works? I've always wondered, how your relationship works with different artists or companies to pick what's made. So I think it's great that you want to work with the quote unquote underdogs and kind of build them up as more of a brand and an artist and whatnot. But is that how it typically works, that people come to you versus you reaching out to artists?
That's a good question. I think at this stage now, I look at everything that comes through the door. Like say, I am the front line. So, if there's a problem, I am customer services and, like say, everything else that goes in between. So I will see everything and try to respond to everything. But I think now it's more of a case of we are reaching out, but also, we've been trying to establish a collective of artists that we can work with regularly and draw upon. So, the doors or the wagons aren't fully circled. We're still bringing people in and this and that, and like I say, it's always keen to see bits. But at this stage, the likes of Tu and Zichi and young lady Yo-Yo, she's coming on side. We're building them and looking after them, and trying to give them products, a diverse range of products for them to sell and build upon as well. So generally changing our strategy, but and the races we have, we work now mainly on a royalty basis as well. So we'll work with the artist. The artist retains the rights to the design, and then we pay the royalty from there.
Okay, because that was another thing I was curious about too, Dan. Let's just say I'm an up-and-coming artist and I want to get some stuff made, and I choose to reach out to you at Unbox and say, hey, I got this cool idea. What do you think? You want to make it? When it comes to the funding of the project, so I say, hey, help me make this toy. Is that on me as an artist to help pay any upfront costs? Like, how does that whole relationship work?
Sure, yeah. When we originally started, yeah, it'd be a case of the artist would fund the project, but we would never take money in advance until the project was done, because we just, at that point, things are so volatile and timings are off. So, you know, that was not in the position we wanted to get into, like, you know, leave people hanging. But now the way we tend to work, again, with expansion and the resources, there's more financial obligation. So we have to make sure that the factory does make a profit. And there's not that much profit in manufacturing the way we do it. So the way we've kind of structured our business arrangements now is, so you could come to me and you say, right, I want to make this project, and we'll say, well, okay, look, we'll part fund it with you, and we'll take an allocation of your stock and we'll sell it. So sometimes when you see when on Instagram, we've worked with a person, and it says, like, oh, this person has kindly given us some stock for us to sell, you know, via retail or via our wholesale channels. So, you know, we can, as we make that greater margin by taking that project to retail, that, you know, we can benefit from that. So we'll bring it in, we work out a kind of deal of that nature. Other arrangements, you know, we will take the concept and we can develop it, do the sculpting, be it digital or traditional, then we can do the prototyping and the whole process through to fruition. And then after that, you know, we basically agree the amount of units that are going to be made, the colorways and all of this nature. And then we put the products out, and then the artist gets their royalty.
Okay. And one thing related, I guess, to this real quick, and then I'd love to dig more into the creation process. But
sure.
One of our listeners asked, you know, a lot of artists might be looking for pointers. So they're debating whether or not they should seek out a vinyl production or not. And he was just curious, you know, do you have any pointers as far as when it might be the right time for an artist to consider production? Like, is there a certain audience size that makes sense, or maybe a certain amount of quantity you should expect to be able to sell to break even? Or does it just kind of vary based on who it is and what it is?
Never try to kind of like put anyone off, like trying to realize their aspiration or their goal. And for many people, it's a dream to develop a toy, but I think you just need to make sure you are financially secure before you go into production. So don't bet the farm, don't get a loan, you know, make sure you've got money in the bank before proceeding. I don't know, it's hard to, you may have like X thousand followers on Instagram and everyone may support you and say how much they love the item, but that doesn't translate into a tangible physical sale.
Right.
You know, I follow the toy, you know, culture because I love it and I'm a fan. I love seeing what people are doing, but you just see every day someone's dropping something new and something fresh, and a figure could be past its sell by date in a matter of weeks, I think. And you know, I wouldn't want to see anyone get in that position of betting the farm and then ending up with like a garage full of stock.
Yeah,
it's really, really difficult. But I think, you know, that people have gone, and we've helped them out as well. People have gone the route of Kickstarter again, which I guess gives you a good gauge. And if you have got a good manufacturer that will deliver on your agreed time of delivery, you know, there's no shame in that. And you know, it's probably maybe like the safest option to take. But yeah, I think there's better ways to take care of your money than putting it into toys. I know it sounds really, really brutal. I don't want to put.
I would get the same advice though. If I was someone's financial advisor, I would tell them don't do toys.
Right.
And speaking of people I would tell not to do toys, let's talk about some of our sponsors right now. So for all your designer toy needs, wants, and desires, please visit 3dretro.com and StrangeCatToys.com. And also, Strange Cat Toys has an app you can download at any one of your favorite app stores. And whether you're shopping online or using the app, be sure to use promo code Marsham at checkout, and you will receive 10% off your order. And then for all your daily designer toy news to stay on top of all of the latest and greatest, be sure to follow SpankyStokes.com and TheToyChronicle.com. And also, like Strange Cat Toys, the Toy Chronicle also has an app that you can download at any one of your favorite app stores. All right, let's get back to Dan. Theresa?
You said that you have a 3-year plan set out into the future right now, Dan. Is it like, how long does it take from initial concept to getting a physical product to sell? Is it a long period, enough that you need to plan that far in advance, or are you just trying to really, like, you just have that long of a wait list?
If we really need to turn it around, I would say like we could get something, get a product ready in about 4 months, 5 months, but that's just breaking everyone's backs. So that's not good. But we can release a product and maintain that the higher standard that we can achieve. But I would say comfortably, I would about 10 months is good for us, just to make sure everything's right and keep the development going. And again, it differs if you're working with like a license, then you have that whole process of send the concepts off, then back to the prototyping, like the sculpting, send that off for approvals, and there's changes, and this in itself can take months. When again back to Nintendo, we did a line of Legend of Zelda figures, and the approvals process took I think 2.5 years before we could go into production, just to get the figures over the line, which was just
2 years just before you could even get to manufacturing. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was just insane. Fortunately, that was as bad as gets. We have licenses in place that we've secured. So, I mean, very flattering now that bigger brands are coming to us for crossover projects. So they're kind of locked in for production for next year. And then in between, there's developing our own IPs and brands in between. So, it's just trying to mix things up. So, we say we've got this 3-year schedule, and there'll be other like drop-ins and new stuff and other opportunities that we'll throw in as well. So, it's kind of how it works.
Yeah, okay. Now, you guys don't disclose what your edition sizes are, correct? It's usually kind of unknown, and what Theresa always mentioned, when it's unknown, that seems to create a little bit of fear of not knowing if you're going to miss out on something, or versus whether you kind of, they have 1,000 of those, I can wait till next month. So is there a reason why you guys don't specify your edition sizes?
Yeah, that's all down to me, I'm afraid. I was always of the opinion that the only people that benefit from stays in the production run are the speculators and the resellers. So, I just never really want to disclose them. There are artists we work with where they've said to us, we want you to notify people how many you're making. Or sometimes, on rare occasions, we've done like some numbered editions, but mainly the bequest of the artist. Yeah.
I wondered that. Because like for two who does the Elfies, like I know he'll publicize the runs, but say for the Zeke Dinos, I have no idea. So it does seem to vary. Yeah,
and to be honest, most production runs, I have no idea either. I've got no clue what's going on. There's so much stuff coming out. I mean, we do our drops on the Saturday. More often than not, I don't know fully what is being released that week until Wednesday. I'm like, that's nice. That's a nice colorway.
I forgot about that thing 3 years ago.
Right, that's it. So we got the schedule, but like sometimes things just pop up and like, we've had this opportunity, or we mixed this vinyl, so we got that, so we've pulled these. So there are these moments of like spontaneity as well. But back to the production run size, just declaring it. Yeah, if you want a toy, I've never looked at toy and thought I really want that because there's only 10 made ever, and that's again there's that whole thing for me, like I want it because I love it. And the name Unbox Industries came from, it was like just a bit of a knock. It was just like, take your toys out of the box, just unbox, put your toy out on the shelf. Now it's become like a whole different, like, it's a cultural movement for kids, like that whole thing of like unboxing videos. But we were, we didn't have that in mind when, we named the company. It was just like a bit of a, I'm a proper, like runs through my veins, just like massive toy fan, but never one for, buying it for speculative purposes.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, you want people to want the thing and display it proudly. You don't want people to get into the whole detail of rarity and resell and all of that, which is great. I mean, I think there's obviously a slide flipping to our scene, but it's great that you as a company are trying to do your best to really just get product in people's hands who will actually want it and enjoy it. That's fantastic.
Sure.
That's how this theme should be. People should just buy what they like, but that's not always the case.
Absolutely. I know a lot of people, they cuss us because of our website, because that, there's the cart facility. You can't keep the stock in your cart, and so there's this mad dash to get get product and everything else. And it is really well noted. There's some great people out there that have filtered back to us what they would like to see changed and what we should do, and we're taking all that on board. And we are building a new website now that we're going to roll out that should give people a fighting chance.
Oh wow! Again, is it going to save your cart when you add something?
Yes. We've asked. Met developers last week, and and we're always trying to work out just methods of just trying to put off that. I mean, there's some people who benefit from the speculative market, and there's definitely no doubt certain people that buy certain toys because they think they're going to be worth money, and desirability is hugely beneficial to you, and I completely understand that. But for us, it's a case of just trying to get product into the right hands and using different strategies to do that. So now, using our limited resources, started working on a more wholesale basis and supplying retailers in Singapore, Taiwan, and in China. And I think that's kind of knocked the wind out of the sails of the speculative market for our stuff a little bit, because there's not that jump from those guys to think, oh, hold on a second, if I buy this now, then there's a good chance it may turn up in a store or at a retailer. So that's kind of working. And also, we keep stock for shows, and we have an emergency list as well. So, if you're really, really stuck, you can just message and say, look, is there any chance? And if everything's shipped out and we do have product left, then, maybe there will be one or two left that we can send out and, help people out. Yes, just trying to keep it fair.
One thing that I personally appreciate, Dan, is, I know that the Unbox online sales can be nuts right now. Literally, product goes up and you buy within seconds, and otherwise you miss out. But I think the nice thing is that you at least have specific drop times. It's become pretty consistent now that you do Saturday release times, same release time, so people kind of learn to expect and know what's coming and kind of wait to see the posts of what might be going up. As a collector, I really appreciate that, because at least it's not, oh, you just threw them up online and you just happen to have to see the post to be able to get online and buy it really quick. At least I can be at my computer ready to try as hard as I can.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. I just feel really bad for those people. I guess it's on the West Coast, right? Who have to get up super early.
7 a.m.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Well, I sleep in on Saturdays, and there's times I've slept past the sale unless I set an alarm. So.
But hey, it's just trying to get those times right. We looked at it and I said, well, okay, where is the best drop time for us that we can kind of keep everyone happy, because it's really late for Japan and it's a little bit late for Hong Kong, and it's kind of okay for me, because obviously I'm 3 p.m. for me, so I've got the easy part. So again, it's me who launches everything online, and then I'm at the front line getting all the complaints of why did this not stay in my cart, and this isn't fair, and this and that, or I love you, you're the best company ever. It's yeah, thanks very much. So I'm just kind of manning the ship type of thing, and trying to keep everyone happy for that.
It's a very bipolar community we have.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be happy if you get it and sad if you don't.
The majority of people that buy are just really cool. I mean, it's just wonderful when people just write and they say, look, I'm not actually buying anything off you at the moment because your toys are quite expensive, but we really love what you do and the diversity of the product and this and that. Or, guys write and they say wow, Belladonna of Sadness. I didn't think anyone would remember that film. We're working with Jodorowsky on the Holy Mountain figures. So it's that for me is just as important as well. When you're kind of connecting with like-minded weirdos. like myself, that remember these things. Old men that never left the house watching VHS for hours on end.
Well, that said, you guys are known for making some pretty crazy stuff and some actually pretty complex stuff to produce. Do you have any stories of what in your mind has been the most difficult and biggest struggle, challenging of a toy that you've produced so far?
Wow, that's a good question. I think one of the most interesting ones, I mean, for me again, was one of the most rewarding was working with Skinner. There was a figure called Logos, which is it's like this figure that's like kind of comprised of like tentacles and vital organs, and then his head kind of like peeks up to like he's got a candle on top, but he's got this huge like open chest cavity with like an exposed rib. So it sounds kind of, it's not gruesome, but it's just grotesque, and it's like Skinner's like homage to like H.P. Lovecraft and Cthulhu. Basically, Skinner sent over the illustration, and there's a digital guy called Goran that I've worked with since pretty much Unbox started, and he's just incredible artist and puts up with my madness. And I sent him this illustration, and he's like, all right, okay, I can build this, let's do this. And so did all the 3D and like start putting all the details in, and it's really, really complicated. Just one day, just looking at it, I was like, oh yeah, this is looking good, but we need to add textures. And he's like, okay, yeah, we'll do some textures. So went back to Skinner and said, Skinner, yeah, we want to put textures in it. And like Skinner's like, yeah, knock your stuff out, do what you want. So Skinner like did some sketches of textures, and then he sent it back to me, and then he's like, you do it, you apply the textures. Okay, we put the textures on. So we did this, and usually like a digital sculpt is in the hundreds of meg maximum. Logos came in at like just over 2 gig worth of data. It's just insane. Like, and then we I'll never forget, I was in Tokyo when at the time, and sent a picture over to Leo, and he's like, what the hell is that? I said, we're going to make this. We're going to make this fig. And he's like, there's no way. You can't make this. Look at it. What are you talking about? You're mad. Like, there's too much going on. So we then proceeded to print it using like there's a really, really good 3D printer. That's an Envision Tech. But it's really, really expensive to output, so it costs thousands of dollars. So we printed the prototype. The first one we did broke, and it just didn't work, so we had to reprint it, and so that was a nightmare. Then took it to the factory. The factory guy was like, "Yeah, you can't make this. You can't make this using like that kind of the slush Japan style, or like boil and bake. It's impossible. Look at that chest cavity and all the rest of it." And so we just sat there and was like, okay, how are we going to do this? We're going to make it. And we basically worked out the process. So, and again, it was drawing it, as I said earlier, drawing it in on all those processes that we could use. So they did the slush, they boiled the figure, the core of the figure. I think it's in 3 parts. That's 4 parts.
It's actually not bad.
No, that's it. But then you've got this huge chest cavity, which you can't pull. So that part was made using like a hand cast silicone molds, just like the resin guys at home, but using like a very soft polyurethane resin, like phthalate-free resin. So then that was applied, and then all the other parts, like there's like eyes and just all these other little details that were applied that again were all hand cast. And so basically it was a 4-part traditional soft vinyl pull mixed with a PU rib cage that was hand cast, and then 36 individual like hand cast parts, some of them no bigger than a pinhead, and then the figures were assembled from that, which was again incredibly complicated process. But the figure looked great. And then one of the lovely things was at that point Josh started doing like the Japan show. So when we're confident enough in our product, then we started to go and like exhibit things over there. And you've got the likes of people from like Marmot and Bullmark and all these like old guys who are there at the show coming past and picking the logo up, and they're like, "Yeah, you can't make that. How did you make that?" And like just look at it, and then Josh explaining, and they're like, "Wow, yeah, you guys are you're nuts. You're off your heads." Just
wow, that's awesome though.
Yeah. So that was the.
I for some reason thought you were gonna say when you guys did that gigantic Paul Kaiju's mock bet. That one looked like crazy to pull.
Yeah, that's again the guy pulls him. He's like Popeye, just an absolute monster. But I can't remember. I could be wrong, but I was there again for the wax stage, and I'm sure it was. But I think it was an 11-kilo wax model.
Wow.
So, but again, like it was a relatively simple process to do it, quite hard to pull it. But again, what was quite interesting after doing that project, so many people came to us after saying, like, can you make large scale, like soft vinyl figures? And then you start to see this trend of like other people making that scale, which is really cool, So, yeah, but there we go. It's always a challenge, definitely.
Does any of the like applications, either of the vinyl material color, like multicolor, or doing clear, rainbow, or any of that kind of stuff complicate things, or is all of that pretty doable these days?
Now we have the resources in place. Yeah, it's by the numbers. It's no problem for us to do. Again, we're incredibly lucky to have the materials to hand, and we basically mix all our own paint, and we can make our own colours. So that's no problem at all. We're only just like kind of limited by our own kind of creativity, I guess. I mean, I don't know if you've seen, we're doing this 3-night exhibition tour
the
thing.
glow show.
Yeah, that's right. But that's starting in Tokyo. And one of the reasons for doing that is we're actually going to debut a material that we haven't seen before, used in our world of like toy making. In fact, I don't think I've seen it implemented anywhere before. Basically, it's like I think it's like a relatively new product, but it's really, really cool. And we're not going to show it yet. We're going to show it a few days before the event. So that was kind of the reason for doing this event. So people can come for one night and see this material under UV and under in darkness. It's quite exciting. So
cool.
Again,
so you mix your own paint, but you're saying you make your own material as well.
Correct. That's right. That's it. So we're looking again, because of having that big grown-up toy background, like mass market products. We can, like, always very, very aware of like the standards of safety and everything else. So we have to make sure that everything is as safe as a product you would buy from, I was going to say Toys R Us, as you would have bought from Toys R Us or this type of place. So we have to make sure everything is safe. But yeah, we're always looking for, as again, like materials to add to what we've got. So you obviously have your core like liquid vinyl, and then you can just add the ingredients or add the effect to enhance it. And we're always looking for those type of products. But I think with the glow show stuff, it should be quite interesting.
You guys are getting liquid vinyl? Because last week we had Corey Science Patrols on. He was talking about, it mainly sounded like liquid vinyl was a Japanese production, manufacturing sort of thing. But he was mentioning like a lot of the Chinese factories, they were having to use a powder mixed with an oil. So you guys are using a liquid vinyl in China as well?
Yeah, I've seen for the mass market stuff, they used it. I've not really seen powder, but I've seen like a pellet that they use, and you have to add the additives and the oil. You kind of mix up, and then you have something which is called a Shore test to work out the hardness or the softness of the product. But again, using that different processes. But for the soft vinyl stuff, we use liquid, and it kind of, again, I never forget seeing. I don't know if I've still got a photo somewhere. I'll have to post it on Instagram. When we took delivery of, we got some clear, and it looked like a scene from Breaking Bad. There's like a hallway full of like a blue, the same blue, the big barrels, the stuff. I'm like, hey, Heisenberg's in the house, It's just like amazing. So, and then, you look at that and think, okay, right, we can make X thousand from this. This is like, going to last us. And that's something, again, which I think spun out the factory we started working with, like, we don't need you to buy our materials. We're going to supply you. We're going to bring this in. We know how much we've got. We know how many figures this barrel is going to yield. And of course, you always have scrappage. So, you have a rough idea. And they may have pilfered some or this or that, but, that's how it kind of, we operated for years. And again, it was overall like met with amusement, but now I think there's a lot more people doing, I don't know if they're actually sourcing like we source, but I think people are far more aware of like, the requirement for like a higher standard. So they're probably doing the same, just buying from like a materials or a plastics broker, and then or buying from source from the manufacturer, which you can do as well.
Okay.
Wow. It's so cool to hear that, because I mean, we're constantly hearing Sofubi versus soft vinyl. Are they the same? Are they not? And then, in talking to Corey of Science Patrol, it was, yes, there's Japanese made and Chinese made, but really it's the same thing. But like literally, it sounds like you're getting even down to the material the same thing. So there's really truly no difference between the soft vinyl you make and the Sofubi being made over in Japan.
Sure.
It really does seem like that gap is closing. I think there's a few people, if you were to put a blindfold on them and give them a Chinese soft vinyl toy and a soft vinyl toy coming out of Japan, maybe they can be able to tell a difference. I know some people think they can, but I think the quality's gotten so good out of China. And again, I think this has a lot to do with yourself and a lot of the other companies that have really stepped up the quality and the game that's going on in China production. But I think slowly over time, it's just going to get better throughout most of the factories there.
Sure. I mean, for me, again, I've collected toys for forever. Not that I've got many left now, but my favorite toys were made in Spain and Italy. Back in the 70s, and and I've never looked at a toy and thought I'm not going to buy this because of its provenance. But I think you have to respect the heritage,
yes,
and the workmanship in Japan, and the history that's there. These families have produced,
yep,
some incredible product for years, and you can never take that away. We've aspired to those techniques, and we've used the same materials, but we're in China, and we do what we do, and we make what we make. But again, I wouldn't want us to be labeled as like really a soft vinyl company, or like a monster making company or a robot making company. We're a toy company,
yeah,
and we make what we love, and we make it to the best of our abilities. And I think year upon year we get better. I think now we've got to a point where I'm kind of happy with the results, and now we've got a whole other load of problems to sort out, like the website, and just the infrastructure and scheduling and getting stuff out on time, and not making sure we deliver on time for an artist. There's always something to learn, but like I said, we've never really never borrowed any money. We've just done it on what we've had, and lived hand to mouth, and just steadily built it up. And I don't want to be a Mattel or a Funko, or and there's nothing wrong with being that, but for us, we just want to make sure we can just survive and just build and be creative, and just make good product, and give another option, yeah, to the myriad of like amazing toys that are out there. I mean, it's incredible at the moment that you can go out and buy a Funko Pop, or you can go and buy a Bear Brick, or there's Ugly Dolls, or Octavia doing Deadly Delivery. So there's so much diversity out there. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. So I was also curious too. I mean, all of this is super interesting, and I was going to ask if you consider yourself a soft vinyl toy company or not, and you kind of basically clarified that you don't consider yourself that. You kind of do anything and everything, whatever makes sense. But I'm curious. Do you have any idea how many toys you've made over the years, and do you keep like an archive or history of all of them, and like one of every toy you make or something like that?
I tried when we started, before Unbox. We was making Mario Brothers figures, and that run was like, on a good month it was 3 million units, 4 million units.
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty heavy. So I kept a little bit of that stuff when I was kind of my apprentice stage. I kept some of those bits and pieces. And then when we started working with like Jeff Lamb, who's just amazing, again, like such a lovely guy to work with, I've got a lot of those original colorways and some blanks and this and that. And then just as the outputs got crazier, we haven't kept hardly anything. And again, because if people want it, we'll sell it. I think there's some photographs of the new office, and it's got like a big wall of like all of our products, and then that's pretty much everything we've got. Usually I end up with all the stuff that's knackered, like old like first shots, like test pulls, or like or like prototypes, or things that you could never really sell that have like a little bit of like history of the process. But yeah, really we should have kind of logged what we've done. I mean, I asked Leo, like, how many projects have we done this year? And it's in the hundreds already. I think we're on week I think it's like week 38 or week 39, and we just we got a good couple of hundred to get through before the year's out.
So 3 or 4 releases every week, it seems.
Yeah, it's
pretty
crazy.
much. That's it. I mean, that's but that is counting the big licensed stuff as well. I mean, we as I say, we've cut down on the partnerships, but there are a lot of different things we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just curious because I mean, for me, I know Unbox really. I think my very first purchase from you all was a Greenie and Elfie set back in August of 2016. So,
right.
Unless to my knowledge there were things I bought that I didn't know Unbox was behind. But then I know Gary was like, "Well, I bought this thing back in San Diego in 2011," and I was like, "What are you talking about? Was Unbox around?" And he sent it to me and said Unbox. I was like, "Wait, what?" So Unbox has clearly been around in the scene a lot longer than I realized, and I think you've been kind of behind the scenes a bit more, but I now know recently you've really come to light and people know who you are and you're spitting out product left and right. So it'd be very interesting to see that timeline, like that history of what all Unbox has been involved in.
Sure. I mean, that was before I started talking to you both. I was like, oh my goodness, I hope I don't forget anyone. The worst, and I'm thinking through a list. Oh my god, yeah, we did this for this person, or there was that project, or yeah, it's a bit of a blur. But equally, I think I'm kind of glad we took our time because we definitely had to find our feet before and now we've got the confidence where, as I say, we can go to Japan and sell and have a client base for manufacturing, but also like a really strong like customer fan base, for not just like say the Devilman stuff we done, but like the Zichi dinosaurs and the Elfies and those things are really, really popular over there, which is great. So yeah, I think I'm glad we just took our time.
Yeah, it just was it was crazy. Gary was sending me pictures. I was like, "What are you talking about?" And
I was telling her like, "Oh, Unbox has been around for a long time. I think in 2000, it was either 10 or 11. I bought a Pome Fluffy House figure from you guys at San Diego Comic-Con." And Teresa's like, "No, they've never done anything for Fluffy House." I'm like, "No, they have. It was called the Plant Monsters. It was going to be a little line of interchangeable creatures." And,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that would be sweet.
And then she had no idea that was done by you guys. Geez, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, my goodness. Yeah, time's having fun.
Yeah, so I think it's so interesting that I think it's great. I mean, you make a good point. It sounds like you were really trying to learn and grow and kind of figure out what you wanted to do versus just trying to jump in there and go crazy. So for me, Unbox is, I think, a little bit newer, but you've clearly done things right because at this point in time, I think it'd be rare for people to not know who you are and at least own or be aware of at least something that you make because you all cover so much.
You know what's so weird about Unbox, though, too, Teresa, is, they win the Designer Toy Award, and to me, from my perspective, they seem like a big company at this point. And yeah, you guys have like just under 20 employees and stuff, but presence-wise within this toy scene, I feel like I would go to a designer con or a Taipei Toy Festival when you guys would have one of those big, prominent booths with the 10-foot figure standing out front. Kind of what Instinct Toy is doing now. Really beautiful presentation and a shelf almost showing the entire archive of what's going on. But usually the 2 times I've seen you guys at conventions, it's still kind of like, just a vinyl banner in the background and just the toys sprawled out over the tabletop. It's like you guys don't seem to care to want to go out and present yourselves as a larger company. You're still kind of keeping it kind of a small grassroots feel.
Yeah, I think we had that discussion with Leah. I think in China you got to have a little bit more pomp about you. It's kind of expected. But for me, there's nothing better just rocking up to like a 6-foot table and just dropping the bag, getting the banner out, getting the double-sided sticky tape out, just throwing everything together, and then trying to make it like a nice display on the table. But that's kind of, that epitomizes more of who I am, from like back in the day when I had my comic shop and going to the comic conventions, getting the long boxes out and just that whole like digging for stuff. And also then for me again, I mean, Instinct Toy, not taking nothing away from like truly impressive what they did at Toy Con as well, like beautifully lit and beautifully presented with really like affable staff, like great. But I like that interaction across the table where people can come and can just chat and relax and hang out and talk about toys, talk about records, talk about food. Just come and what's been going on today, talk about your mum, and I like to talk a lot. You know that now already, but that for me that's the best part. I mean, yeah, it's good to go home with a few bucks or whatever, but just to meet artists and like looking forward to Decon this year, and we've got Retrovan's coming along again, and hopefully like Zectron's going to be there, and there'll be a few other guys that'll be joining us, and just seeing them, even though we chat all the time, and hopefully like your good selves as well. Just it's nice to have that traffic come through. And the other thing I've really loved with Pasadena, I hope they have with Anaheim as well, is just the amount of people from the industry, not our industry, but like the animation industry or special effects or the arts that come through. And they're like, especially like the guys from Pixar, they're like, yeah, we've got like Unbox toys everywhere, man. Or like the guys working on like Deadpool, just like, yeah, we've got like a logo and we got this and that. And
that's awesome.
It's just like, it's like, whoa, yeah, it's really cool. But then equally just speaking to kids as well, what they want, what they want from Unbox and this and that. And that's something we've got very much in mind for the rollout, that 3 rollout as well. And moving into mini figures and cheaper stuff is just trying to make more accessible products, which will hopefully in turn bring new people to us.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I know that Unbox, it does tend to have, I wouldn't say super pricey, but stuff that tends to be, I don't know, $50 to $100 range. So I think it's cool that you're aware of that and trying to find ways for Unbox to tap into the lower price point. But one of the things you all revealed recently is this awesome blind box series you're working on. So let's hear more about that. Is this the collective of artists you were mentioning earlier that you're trying to band behind?
Some of them. I'll explain that just a little bit after. So with the Unboxing and Friends project, it was just kind of grouping together people that we have a working history with, or in the case of the WeGo, like a friendship and a love of the character and the artist. What we decided to do was to employ two, who they're the artist who creates Green and Alfie, to reinterpret everyone's characters for their approval, to give a uniformity across the range, which we think he did to great success. And again, it's just, as I said, we're very aware of like the price point we're at, and just wanted to make something more accessible. There's a kind of double-edged sword. It's like accessibility, but also now where we have the confidence to move into wholesale and have like an infrastructure within the office, so we can give a good service to retailers. That this will be the first product we will reach out and in fact, retailers have reached out to us as well already. We will offer out for distribution. So yeah, we're quite excited about it.
So when it comes to buying Unboxed product today, for those who see stuff and are like, I don't know how to get a hold of this. I mean, are the two main channels as of today, Dan, just been either through your online store or events you will attend? That's been the predominant way to buy them, right?
You do have the opportunity, again, as it's more so for if you're an Asian, so you can reach out to Toy Station or Vintage Vinyl Club.
Okay.
And there's the guy in Japan, Shinji. I can't remember the name.
Tominasuki?
Thank you. Oh my goodness, there we go. Complete brain shutdown. So he's taken some exclusives from us, and fairy cookies as well. So there are outlets, online you can track them down. But yeah, for anyone kind of not familiar or ingrained in like toy culture, I guess it's been a bit of a task to track our stuff down. Like say attend the shows or directly from us.
Okay.
Yeah. It does seem, too, though, that there are opportunities sometimes, or at least it seems to be growing in that way, too, Dan, of buying direct from an artist as well. Like, for example, I think you have been helping produce Nunu. Am I saying that right? The larger dinos.
I think her name is Niao. But,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But
That's it, yeah.
but her dinos, I think you all produce, and sometimes I see her selling them directly. So is that an artist decision where they might get some product and choose to sell it as well as you all are selling it online, or in events like the artist will sell them as well?
Sure. That was that's one of the arrangements I kind of discussed earlier, where Niao financed the project, and we kind of like paid in to get the project going. So, and then just took a small allocation of her stock for us to sell to make some money back. So it's kind of one of those arrangements.
Okay. That makes sense. So thinking back to events again, since that is a big way to purchase some of your product, it seems like you all attend quite a few. Do you, like I said, I assume that's a big part of Unbox, is that you all are constantly, I think there's something going on this weekend, Super Festival in Japan.
Yep.
Am I saying that right? But are you all pretty much doing an event every weekend in some capacity?
If it's on, then we'll try to attend. Again, there's like Jim and Ben in the office. As I said, Jim, he does like a lot of graphic design stuff, and again day to day. And Ben's like a paint manager, and but they equally, I say, all multitasking. They organise and prepare stock specifically for the events. So, we're doing our manufacturing for our retail and for our limited wholesale and for our clients, but we're also manufacturing for each show, preparing. And like say, like for the Glow show at the moment, we've been pulling stock or pulling vinyl for, I think, the last 2 months, just getting stuff ready. So yeah, that is part of our strategy, getting a nice diverse range ready to roll out. When the shows in China have just kind of evolved into these like huge events, which is just crazy, like brilliantly organized and very fluid. But then you have this, they're kind of marred by this very aggressive, speculative market, which kind of like puts a bit of a dampener on things over there. But we attend those, and Josh is at Wonder Festival, Super Festival, Tokyo Comic Con, and everything else that fits in between. And then I'll do ToyCon UK, and I will be out for DCon this year. So yeah, we try and keep as busy as possible with them.
Yeah. Well, one of the things Gary and I are always wondering and discussing and trying to debate is what are the top shows to attend. And for us, trying to understand the shows over in Asia is just so hard because there's so many, and we just don't have a good sense of which ones are smaller and which ones are bigger. So I'm curious, in your opinion, if you had to pick, like say Gary and I were like, we're going over to somewhere in Asia and we want to go to the best show possible, which one would you pick for us to try to attend?
I would probably say Taiwan, just because it's the longest running, and just the general atmosphere. I think there's a real shock and awe. I haven't been to BTS, but from speaking to people, it's intense and it's really, really big. But Taiwan, they've been doing it for years. So I would say Taiwan's probably an interesting one to visit. There's a great story about, I mean, again, thanks to the Taiwan show, how we started working with Zichi. Leo was there, I think it was maybe 4 years ago or something like that, and the massive typhoon, complete disaster. There was absolutely no one to show. So, they were just just kicking the heels of something to do. And then Leo was wandering around and he just bumped into Zichi, and Zichi's like, how you doing? And they started talking, and there was a rapport instantly with Zichi and Leo. And then, Zichi was like, yeah, no, I want to make this figure. Things are going okay, but, I've done lots of releases and nothing's really hit for me. I'd like to give this one last shot type of thing. And Leo's like, yeah, let's do it. And so if it wasn't for, for Taiwan and Typhoon, we wouldn't have met. And like that figure and that range, the Monster Little range, is just bananas.
Yeah.
Just amazing for Zichi, how it's been embraced. Obviously he's in Singapore, and the Singapore anniversary, they used the dinosaur, and it was they'd made a big inflatable and toured it around. And then he had an advertising deal with Canon, the camera people, and they used the dinosaur in this campaign. And nice. It's a huge fan base, and that's he's building a universe and expanding upon it, and they're doing really, really well. And we've been approached by a company again. We actually we've started our own licensing division, and Zichi's part of the licensing division. Those guys that came to us, and they were talking about that. Maybe getting together to do an animation with him and this and that. So, it's really, so as I say, just from that one chance meeting.
That's crazy. Mother Nature bringing people together.
Right. So just go when the weather's nice and you have a lovely time. That's it. Just have the season. Yeah, it's a really good show.
I'm so glad that happened, because good God, how many am I up to? 7, 8? I don't even know anymore. I've lost count. And I know I don't even have as far as many as other people, but it's definitely been a super popular line. It's crazy that things ended up that you talked and made it happen. So it's awesome.
Yeah. And that's could have happened to a nicer guy as well. I mean, there's just working in the big toy world of mass market product, big licenses, and the majority of people just weren't very nice. And it's all about the bottom line and profits of this, and just getting one over on someone, or being the big fish, and that whole culture of commerce of that nature is really aggressive. And then, just taking a step back and getting into this world where everyone's kind of supportive and everyone's looking out for one another, and all the artists, and everyone we've worked with, it's been great. So very, very lucky.
That's awesome.
Yeah. One other thing I was curious about, we were talking about your more grassroots booth style, and you kind of just lay stuff out. And we were talking about too how can people get a hold of your products, and events being a big thing. But one thing, just to pick maybe a little bone, but Dan, sometimes it's so hard to know what your booth is going to have. Part of our con prep is to go around and look at exclusives and figure out, okay, this booth might have this, and sort of prioritize. And I feel like I always put Unbox high, but a bunch of question marks. I'm like, I don't know what they're going to have, but I know it's going to be cool. I just got to go there and see.
I apologize. I'm making a note right now in my notebook. Get it together. That's it. Let the people know.
No, I was just curious, if that's kind of just your style, or if you're thinking you'll get a little more official with it and over time start to try to say, hey, at DCon we're going to have XYZ. But I know it's hard too, because like Gary said, there are times where you just have some extra stock and you might have just 3 of this figure or 2 of that one. And sometimes you just put it out there and kind of say, yeah, we brought a few of this and a few of that. So I just got to keep putting Unbox at the top of my list and just run there and see what happens. Or,
he likes to keep it mysterious, and that's why we all line up there first.
Yeah, it works.
I do apologize. Yeah, I think it's more a case of us being more efficient, knowing what we're actually going to turn up with. Like I say, there's some weeks, yeah, we pulled this. What do you think? It's yeah, okay, let's do it. Let's sell it. We're kind of spontaneous sometimes. Yeah. But I think that the Decon selection this year, I could just be making this all up. But I think we've got maybe less of a range, but more of each product for each day.
Nice.
I think we should have enough, hopefully, for someone to go home with with what they want. But again, if there was a way, people are very welcome. If they say to us, like, I'm going to be at Decon, and can you bring some more of this, or can you hook me up with this and that? That's no problem. We've got the time. If we can let people know, then maybe we'll just make enough and bring them along. And I don't know. I just need to work something out. I mean, there was a really awkward situation last year at our stand where people calling out flippers and this and that, and it was and the guy wasn't a flipper, and it's just very, very I don't want to see that at a show. I just want people to come along and just enjoy it and buy what they want to buy. And then on the flip side, they were not, or the illegitimate flippers, they were there just doing their thing and then putting stuff on eBay straight away. So it's just, I don't know, I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to get what they want.
But I mean, you all don't tend to do event exclusives. Not that I've ever seen, right? You just tend to bring either extra stock or just things that you've been making in that particular time of year, right? You don't tend to do like a Decon exclusive or a Taipei Toy Festival exclusive or stuff like that.
Sure. I mean, yeah, we kind of, like, as we did, I think it worked really well at Decon last year. So we had figures that were launched or debuted at Decon, but we also had them online at the same time, just to again try and thwart that speculator to market. Like, says, okay, you can buy here, you can buy there at the same time. I think we will have a couple of exclusives for Decon, subject one from a license we're working with. Hopefully, the figure just got approved this week, so the race is on to try and get the figure out in time for Decon. And then there's this one that we definitely will have as like a smaller, really friendly price point exclusive as well, which would be quite nice. Yeah, cool. So like $13 maximum, I think. So that'd be nice. Quite good. Yeah.
Do you anticipate the mini blind box series being available by DesignerCon?
Definitely.
Oh, nice.
Definitely.
Wait.
Yep.
Now, is
that... yeah.
I know you talked about it being kind of a price point thing, but is it also, do you feel like it's a way for you to either respond or compete with, say, just other blind boxes out there, or say the Vinyl Artist Gotcha series from Medicom, or is it a competitor type of thing for you as well, or is it really just something that you all be wanting to do, like a blind box series kind of a deal?
Pretty much the latter. I mean, like I said, we've never tried to follow, or never will follow trends. But basically, like, it was Leo's idea, and he said, I'd really like to do this, and make a more accessible thing. So we have announced that. But on the flip side, so you've got Leo's spin on it, which is like the really cool, really cute stuff. And I've been developing my own blind box series, which is the dark side, so to speak. I'm not going to say much more about it at the moment, but that will hopefully be at Decon as well, which will be again between $10 and $13, but no frills, no paint, crazy sculptors. It's like an anthology concept, all original characters, $10 a figure type of thing. And I won't disclose too much moment, but all of the participating sculptors were set a brief, and they had a timeline to make the figures. The brief is basically you're not allowed to make them in more than 2 parts, and also like a specific dimension. None of the sculptors have seen one another's work.
Oh, that's interesting.
So yeah, they're all sweating. It's quite interesting, and they're all very popular sculptors, and they've all done them and they've all put them in. And as I say, none of them have seen them, and they're all biting their nails to see who's the champ. So it should be quite interesting. So I think they'll probably see them at Decon as well.
Cool.
So yeah, quite excited for that.
No, that's awesome. That sounds really cool. Looking forward to that.
I was just gonna say, are there any other juicy leak related things, upcoming projects that you want to disclose on or are allowed to talk about, so we can all get...
That was pretty juicy, Theresa. You're always wanting more. Just never satisfied.
We're working, I don't know if we announced it, so over the next year we're working with Namco. We're just finishing up from the video game Splatterhouse, so we've got a range of characters coming out from that game, which is quite exciting. And then we're working with we continue to work with Go Nagai. We're doing something with a video game company called Grasshopper, which is looking quite good. There's a few other Japanese licenses that Josh is working away at, which is really exciting. We're expanding on the Fist of the North Star line, which has been very well received. And then on the complete flip side, we're doing some interesting crossover stuff with Nickelodeon, Disney, and Sanrio. So you couldn't get more polar opposites. So that's all some of the license stuff that kind of describes where we're going in that direction. And then, again, without giving away too much, we've acquired a brand of quite a famous artist, which we've been developing for the best part of a year with Triclops, who, again, I completely forgot to say, like, I probably wouldn't be in the position I am now with Unbox if it wasn't for Rob and Luke and James, who's one part of Triclops, who helped me with the first figure. They've been, incredibly helpful and instrumental to this journey, and I'm actually working with them at the moment. We're developing this brand, which we will show in November in one way or form, but we're actually going to try and take that jump and try and cross it over as like a mass market toy brand of sorts. And there's some partners in place, and we've got a few meetings and this and that. So that's really, really interesting. But again, it's just the artist I've known for years, and he's an amazing person, and he's fully on board and working on new content and new concepts. And he's working closely with Tu, who's helping with some of the redevelopments and like a refresh. And it's a lot of work, but yeah, it's really, really, really exciting. So that should be good. Hopefully that'll be well received as well. So yeah, that's quite a good one.
Wow. Well, if anyone ever doubts that Unbox is not busy,
so stop sending him DMs, Theresa. Let the guy work.
It's obviously not true.
But yeah, but they all work really, really hard, and we just try and get it done. But again, like I say, not without fault. Loads to learn, and just appreciate people's patience and interaction and feedback. It's just we're really lucky.
Sounds great. You have a wonderful team to kind of support you all, and you're obviously doing great things. So yeah, I do have one more random question, and I think we'll probably try to wrap this up. But
sure.
I know one thing for thinking about your online shop and modifications you're going to make. I know one thing that I hear chatter about on the U.S. side is that right now, anytime you buy from Unbox, it has to ship internationally. And so there's a little bit of extra shipping costs there. Is there a goal to eventually have some kind of U.S.-based warehouse so that you can ship from here to make it a little cheaper for us when we're buying product online?
No. See, Dan, she's always wanting more.
It's absolutely something we're going to work towards at one point. Again, it's just trying to find the right partner fulfillment. So like and it's not without having the invitation from some of the larger art toy companies out there have approached us year on year, like offering to distribute for us, which is really cool, really flattering. But again, I don't want to say yes to these guys, and if we just can't supply products on time, there's nothing worse, So I've already kind of putting through some artists through the mill, so I can't do that to a supplier. But I think we will work this wholesale model with the retailers that are interested in working with us, and then we'll see how we can expand it from there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point though. The fact that you're expanding more wholesale and you're going to start with the blind box series, but it could grow over time. That might be the way. Instead of us constantly buying directly from you, we might start buying from retailers instead. So, and I mean, you all are doing awesome. I don't care. I'll spend $20 to ship a product from you all.
Thank you for your support. Sincerely appreciated.
Well, it's nice talking to you, Dan. Finally get to meet you.
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry I do ramble a lot. I mean, feel free to edit, whatever, just like.
I definitely appreciate you taking the time, Dan. This has been great to get, a history lesson on Unbox and just hear about the ins and outs. So I do appreciate you taking the time to join us today. It's been great.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you for being so patient. And just, I know you reached out ages and ages ago, but it's a real pleasure to be on and talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, worth the wait. So one of the things we do, if you could take a second, Dan, just let people know where they can find Unbox, how to get a hold of you all and find your product.
Sure. Head to Instagram, look for Unbox Industries, and then you can link from there. Or if you've got any questions, you want to know about process, whatever, I promise I reply to every email that comes in. And if I do miss you, just email me again. I will definitely get back to you. Always happy to, impart knowledge or any criticism, any problem, how we can make ourselves better. I really appreciate it.
That's generous. Nice of you.
Just beware, Dan.
I'm ready.
All right. Well, Gary, I'll let you go next. Where can people find you?
Okay. I am Gary Ham. You can find me at superham.com or Gary Ham on Instagram.
And I am Theresa Hawkins. If you will want to find me, check me out on Instagram. My username is tmhawk24. Oh, shoot. I'm going to try really hard, Gary. This has been the Marsham Toy Hour. We do this every week, not because we have to,
but because we want to.
So until our next transmission, we're signing off.
Bye. Thanks, Dan.
Bye.
Thank you so much.